The real reason churches don't preach about the Sabbath. What are pastors so afraid of? Churches today preach about love, grace, tithes, and prosperity. They preach about heaven, hope, and even the end times. But there's one topic most pulpits avoid, like the plague: the Sabbath. Why? Why do most churches refuse to preach about the fourth commandment, even though it's one of the 10? Why do pastors ignore the only commandment that starts with the word remember? The answer is deeper and more disturbing than you think. This message reveals the real reason churches don't preach about the Sabbath, and it challenges every skeptic believer and pastor to confront the truth. Step 1. The Sabbath was never abolished. Let's begin with what the Bible clearly says. Exodus 20:8-11. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. The seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. This commandment was spoken by God himself, written by his own finger, given at creation, Genesis 2:2-3. Never changed by Jesus, never removed by the apostles. In fact, Jesus said, Matthew 5:17-18, "Think not that I am come to destroy the law. Till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law." So why don't churches preach this law that God never changed? Step 2. Sunday was not God's idea. Most Christians worship on Sunday, believing it's the Lord's day. But the Bible never says that. Nowhere does God bless the first day. Nowhere does Jesus command Sunday worship. Nowhere do the apostles teach a Sabbath change. So where did it come from? Constantine's Sunday law, 321 AD. On the venerable day of the sun, let all magistrates and people rest. This law honored sun worship, not scripture. Council of Laodicea, 364 AD. Christians must not Judaize by resting on the Sabbath. Sabbath keeping was banned. Sunday was enforced. Catholic Church's admission. Sunday is our mark of authority. The Church is above the Bible, and this transference of Sabbath observance is proof of that fact. Catholic Record, 1923. Churches follow Sunday not because of Scripture, but because of tradition. And here's the truth. Preaching about the Sabbath exposes that tradition. Step 3. Why churches stay silent. So what's the real reason pastors avoid the Sabbath truth? Because preaching it would mean admitting they've been wrong, losing members who love tradition, challenging denominational doctrines, confronting the Catholic Church's authority, giving up convenience and popularity. But Jesus said, Matthew 15:9, "In vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men." When pastors choose tradition over truth, they lead their flocks into vain worship. They silence the Sabbath to avoid conflict, but in doing so, they deny a command of God. Step 4. The end-time importance of the Sabbath revelation, 14:12. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. In the last days, God's people will be known for keeping his commandments, including the fourth. The Sabbath will be a final test of obedience versus tradition. Preaching the Sabbath means choosing God's authority over man's systems. Step 5. Challenge to skeptics and believers. If the Sabbath was truly abolished, then prove it. Show one verse where God changed the Sabbath to Sunday. Show one verse where Jesus commanded Sunday worship. Show one verse where the apostles abolished the Sabbath. You won't find it. So here's the real reason churches don't preach the Sabbath. Because preaching it would expose everything else they've built on a lie.